Good morning, sports fans, and welcome to The Fuel Up. This is Border Fuel's exclusive morning podcast. I am your host, Byron Smith, Director of Operations for Border Fuel Sports, and today we are going to kick off a show that I have been very excited for. We've been looking forward to it, planning it for 2 months now. I'm super excited to finally have The Fuel Up here for you guys. What is The Fuel Up? This is going to be a morning show where we can catch you up on all the sports news and sports happenings. We're going to be streaming on Mondays and Thursdays at 9 a.m. Central. Mondays are going to be specifically kind of targeted towards re-hitting the weekend points, kind of going over what happened during the weekend, where Thursdays are going to be a lot of more analysis, more looking forward into the future of sports and getting things ready. So let's stop just talking about the show and start talking about sports. And I want to kick it off specifically with the biggest story from this weekend. We now have the national championship for the NCAA men's tournament set up. Gonzaga and Baylor. It's not like everyone predicted this. These were two of the most unstoppable men's basketball teams we had ever seen, right? Gonzaga has an amazing offense. Those kids know how to get to the basket better than most NBA teams. Jalen Suggs hits this fantastic game winner in the game against UCLA. Mind you, an NCAA men's basketball game that goes to 90-90 even in single overtime is something else. But they have the ability to score whenever they want, however they want. If Baylor's going to beat them, it's going to be offensively just being able to keep up with them, because no defense is going to stop that type of shot right there. So, but there is Baylor. They do have a bit of a defense. I do question Ashen Network Sports picking this picture for their article about the final two teams. You couldn't have picked a better picture. You couldn't have photoshopped something together like a graphic or something. No, you just found two white boys with mullets and were like, yeah, that'll work. Odd choice, but it is what it is. And I'm going to assume pretty easily, yeah, Gonzaga is the easy favorite, heavy favorite with 4.5 points. That game is tonight. If you have to ask me my predictions, Gonzaga wins easy. Like I said, Gonzaga is the best NCAA men's team we've seen in a long time. They've offensively, they're just better than everybody. They don't have a great defensive front or scheme. That's gonna hurt them a little bit, but I don't think Baylor has enough shooters to capitalize on it. I think Gonzaga just runs away with the game. Baylor's playing catch up probably from the first 5 minutes on. It's not really a competition for me. I am really pretty excited about that game winner. Everyone talked about it on Twitter. You couldn't find someone who wasn't rewatching that shot over and over again. I'm pretty sure Gonzaga's own Twitter account has tweeted about it more than the actual game they have tonight. It caused a little controversy when Skip Bayless kind of popped out and said, it was a fantastic game. It was a fantastic game. UCLA and Gonzaga, high scoring men's tournament game, which I had already mentioned, which are a little odd, little rare, but a lot of back and forth. UCLA should not have been in that game with Gonzaga, but they were, and a lot of people started calling it maybe the best men's basketball game or men's NCAA game of all time. Most people pretty much agree it's the best one we've had in a long time. Skip Bayless kind of caused some controversy when he came out and said, I don't know how you can call that the best NCAA tournament game in a long time when it ended on a lucky jumper. I don't know. I'm gonna pull back here a little bit. I want the exact frame where he takes this shot. That's not a lucky jumper. That's someone who's practiced that a little bit. Look at that form here from the logo. That's not a lucky jumper. That's someone who's practiced that. He has specifically nailed that shot down to make sure that if he were ever put in a situation like that, he can drill it. I mean, even if we assume that's a lucky shot, I say it just makes the game even better, right? When games get into 2-3 overtime, they start to drag a little bit. The players get tired, the announcers get tired, the coaches get tired, the refs start getting a little more ticky-tacky with their fouls. That's the best way to end it. If you have an overtime game that's exciting as that, You end it in the final few seconds, and that's the best thing you can do. Great game, great win for the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Like I said, I fully expect them to win, especially with this type of momentum. When you win a game like that, all your players are energized, they're jazzed up, they're going to go into this game shooting lights out, and I just don't think Baylor has anything anywhere close to being able to maintain it. Right, but we're going to go from basketball. We have a pretty significant wrestling audience, so I'm going to kind of appeal to my wrestling guys in here, and we're going to talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling's Sakura Genesis this weekend. Really, we're just going to talk about the main event, which saw Will Ospreay beat Kota Ibushi for the new IWGP Heavyweight Championship. It's a stupid and ugly belt. Yes, I'll give you that. The original IWGP Championship is beautiful. It's iconic. It's up there with the AAA Championship in terms of like legacy and nostalgia, but I guess New Japan is just looking to start moving forward a little bit. They're kind of getting left in the dust. AAA at least has Kenny Omega. AEW has everything. WWE is always going to be WWE. Ring of Honor, don't know if they're really ever going to come back from coronavirus. So New Japan realized they had to do something to get that Western market. And if they think that's it, more power to them. They're probably wrong, but more power to them. But they make a huge change by having Kota Ibushi drop the new title design in his first title defense to Will Ospreay, who used a Stormbreaker to pin him for the 3 count. I mean, I didn't see it coming. Kota Ibushi is one of those wrestlers who, if you don't always make him happy, he's going to leave your promotion fairly quickly. So for them to strip the title off of him tells me Kota Ibushi is going somewhere else. It tells me that he wanted to go to AEW and that he kind of wanted to do AEW and New Japan at the same time. New Japan wasn't really interested because he was their champion. More power to you. You don't want your champion to go get injured in another promotion. And so they said, okay, you can't do that. He threw a fit, and then they took the title off of him. He's going to go to AEW. No questions asked. They're probably going to have the door wide open for him. I wouldn't be surprised if he's in Jacksonville now. Right? Tony Khan, love the dude. He's an absolute mark for great wrestlers like that, which makes AEW fun. And then Kenny Omega, his best friend in the world, is right there with him. I expect them to do a program together here soon. Super excited for that prospect. But Will Ospreay sets up matches with Okada and Lord. I'm going to forget the other name real quick. I think it's Tansanagi or Takagi. Sets up a match with Takagi soon at Dontaku. And looks to be setting up an Okada match down the line for Wrestle Kingdom. We'll kind of see where that goes, but let's get off wrestling. So back into, we're going to go to Borderfield Sports here, and actually can I give myself a shout out here. Mock drafts are huge right now, right? Every day it seems like 3-4 high profile individuals are putting out mock drafts. So we at Borderfield responded with our own mock draft, but I traded every single pick. You might be asking, why did you do that? Well, I got tired of reading mock drafts that were half trades, right? You can't go read Mel Kiper's 4.0 and then look at it and see, oh, he traded the 2nd, 7th, 8th, 12th, 16th. Oh, here's the 21st. Like, he put so many trades in there because every mock draft has to be different. It has to be interesting. It can't be the same as the last one, or it can't be same as that guy's, because if they're the same, people are going to complain. Why are they reading the same thing over and over and over again? So they have to make them so different and so engaging and kind of ridiculous. So they have to put all those trades in there, because the best way to get your article read, the best way to keep people talking about your content, is to make it ridiculous and make it trend on Twitter. So I decided to respond to that stupid mentality with a stupid mentality of my own. I traded every single pick. You might be like, oh, so you just went completely ridiculous. No, every pick has reason. It has logic, right? Houston Texans trade away Deshaun Watson to the Jacksonville Jaguars for quite a few picks and end up with Trevor Lawrence. The Pittsburgh Steelers trade with the Jets. They trade away Minkah Fitzpatrick, but for a chance to get Zach Wilson behind Big Ben Roethlisberger. Minnesota's trading with San Francisco 49ers to get Justin Fields. By the way, if the San Francisco 49ers take Mac Jones at 3, I'm going to absolutely laugh at their face because they're making a mistake. I think I have Mac Jones. I don't even think I have him in the first round, to be honest with you. Jamar, Jalen, Patrick, Trey Lance. I have Trey Lance above Mac Jones, J.C. Horn, Rashawn Slater, Devontae Smith. Oh, there he is. I didn't think I did. Mac Jones is going to the 49ers at 14, which is a more acceptable place for him to go, right? Like, it makes no sense for the 49ers who have traded up so high to go for a player that is going to be available at their original draft pick. If you think Mac Jones is being taken before, what did they originally have? 6? 12? I think 12. He's not going before 12. Right here, I'm gonna pull up a full list of. I'm gonna go to Tankathon real quick. Love those guys. I use this site all the time. You have to think. Originally, they're here at 12. Jacksonville's taking Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson. Who's originally here? Miami isn't taking a quarterback. They have Tua, and if they take a quarterback, they're taking Deshaun Watson. They're not taking anybody that's not a major upgrade over Tua. Atlanta is probably taking Justin Fields if he's available. Cincinnati's taking Sewell. Philadelphia at the time, I don't think Miami's able to make that move without that 12 seed. I don't think they moved to that spot. Philadelphia is taking Jamar Chase or Jalen Waddle. Detroit's taking Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith. Carolina maybe wants Mac Jones, but I'd be more in line to see them take Trey Lance, or maybe the other of those 3 wide receivers I'm mentioning. Carolina is maybe your only question mark there to getting Mac Jones. And even then, okay, Carolina is your question. Trade with Detroit. Move up to Detroit and say, okay, hey, I got to get right where you're at. Carolina's going to steal Mac Jones from me. I gotta take that. Moving all the way up to 3 for a player that's likely going to be available at 12 is ridiculous and stupid, and tells me that something's wrong in the San Francisco management room, or we're just being fed a lot of smoke. I really think it's just smoke. I think someone somewhere likes Mac Jones more than Justin Fields and has been hyping that up in the media, and then everyone else catches on because, we journalists don't have original ideas often. And so I don't think it's Mac Jones at 3. I think it's Justin Fields. They could really shock us and end up taking like Micah Parsons or Jamar Chase at 3. It would be worth looking at. But overall, I don't see that happening. If you want a fun, stupid article to go read this weekend, go check out Mock Draft First Round, but I traded every single pick. It's a pretty good read. Put in some good work, have a nice little existential crisis towards the middle. And then we're going to go into NBA content from this weekend. We had Jrue Holiday agree to a 4-year big extension with the Bucks. Huge, honestly, huge for the Bucks, right? I don't know who at the Bucks management is making these decisions, but they are making the right decisions for Giannis Antetokounmpo. We all know this last offseason, the Bucks barely held on to Giannis Antetokounmpo. Everyone was certain he was going somewhere else. I'm pretty sure Giannis thought he was going somewhere else, but Giannis ends up staying with the Bucks, and I think that largely has to do with coronavirus, the state of the country at the time, and probably the state of the potential cap. So he stays put. He doesn't want to go test free agency in the middle of a pandemic. He stays with the Bucks, but he tells the Bucks, you got to build around me, and they do. They bring in Jrue Holiday, who has been fantastic for the Bucks, and they saw what Jrue was doing for the team. They saw how he was gelling with Giannis and with their shooting guard, whose name escapes me, and they said, okay, Giannis told us to invest in him, invest around him. We're going to do just that. Teams don't normally do this, especially because they signed him to an extension early. No team's going to do that. They honestly showed me that they are full on going after Giannis. They are making sure that the relationship between them and the future star of the NFL is absolutely perfect. They don't want him to end up on the Lakers in a few years. They don't want him to end up across the country. They want to make sure he's happy, and they want him to stay right there. And this was an amazing move. I don't know who's making the decisions here for the Bucks. Maybe it's Giannis. We can't say it's not Giannis going to them and be like, hey, go give him an extension. I like him. He's going to stay here. So, great move from the Bucks. Great for them moving forward. They have a nice little core of 3 great players. They're going to have a lot of success moving forward. And here are the NBA standings. This is kind of how we want to more or less wrap up today's show. We'll still talk a little bit afterwards. But the Bucks currently sit at 3 behind the super team that is the Brooklyn Nets, that somehow never gets their super team to all play at the same time. And the 76ers, who have Joel Embiid, who is just doing whatever Joel Embiid wants to do. The Bucks, by signing Jrue Holiday, they just kind of lock up that 3 seed or better for the next 4 years, right? That team's going to keep gelling. It's going to keep getting better. They're not going to fall below that 3 seed unless like the Miami Heat or the Atlanta Hawks become immensely better. Charlotte Hornets, they would have to put a lot of superstars around LaMelo. The New York Knicks are a building team, but they're a building team who doesn't know how to build. And the Boston Celtics have a lot of issues they have to deal with. But the Bucks, they lock up a nice playoff seed for their near future. Don't expect any problems from them for a while. I definitely don't expect a first or second round out this year in the playoffs. You don't get to use the excuse that you played the Eastern champions this year, right? Sure, you might play the Eastern Championship or Eastern champions in the semifinals or conference finals. You're not going to play them in the first or second round, right? So Bucks need to be doing something. Jrue Holiday is a great investment to make sure they get there. But we can also talk about the Western Conference. We don't really have a big news story out of the West, but Western Conference starting to shape up a little bit, and it's worth noting, shaping up with the Lakers at the 5th seed. And the Lakers have injuries across their entire team. This is the most injured we have seen a team of that caliber. They just are not healthy, and that has to do with the fact that the bubble was so late into the summer, and the finals was almost a fall game. And then, they go from playing in the fall to starting it up again in December. Your body can't do that at that level, especially, we don't really want to talk about it. I'll say the loud part out loud, or the quiet part out loud. LeBron's getting older. His body, as amazing as it is, right? As well fed and as well taken care of as LeBron's body is, at his age, he can't do that. He can't play a tense, crazy playoff series after playoff series. He played multiple good playoff series in the late parts of the summer, and then a tense finals series in the fall, and then come right back in December and start doing it all over again. It's not possible. I don't even think some of these young guys, some of these Devin Bookers, Jamal Murrays, Luka Doncic's, I don't think they could do that kind of stuff. So it is interesting to see them at 5 with a lot of injuries. They could even drop down to like 6, 7 before their injuries finally stop getting worse. And by that point, we're talking about the last 10 games of the season. I think the 5 seed is going to be where they're going to end up in the playoffs, which is going to be very interesting for them to see them go see them go away court the entire playoffs? Can they travel? Because I just said, they are tired. They're worn out. They've been doing this for almost a year now of just almost nonstop basketball. Can their bodies keep up on the road that much? Can they travel that much? Can they do all that in the playoffs? Yes, the Lakers are the best team in basketball right now, but they got handed a terrible card for this year. I'm going to be bold, and I'm going to say I see the Lakers taking a first round exit because you just can't keep asking your body to do that. They're gonna have to eventually accept that, and I think they're gonna accept that in the way of a first round exit. If they're the 5th seed, they're probably going to Denver. I don't know. I kind of see Denver, despite them being on a nice little winning streak, I expect to see them fall maybe around the 6th seed, and I actually expect the Mavericks to step up a little bit towards the end of the season, get to where they belong at the 3-4 seed spot. I think the Lakers are going to take an L to the Mavericks. I think it's going to be Lakers at Mavericks, probably a game 7, which is even worse, right? 7 games back to back with a day rest in between travel days. That doesn't line up for your health and your age. Luka Doncic getting a win over the Lakers is going to be huge. Does it carry him enough over the Clippers, over the Suns, over the Jazz? Probably not. The Jazz are fantastic right now. The Suns are fantastic always. And the Clippers are adding depth. They're adding players. They are looking to not get embarrassed this year. And the Western Conference is going to be very competitive, very interesting in the playoffs. And I think that's a playoff picture that we kind of have to talk about without the Lakers. It is worth noting, if there is a play-in game, this play-in game down here between the Grizzlies and Spurs would be fantastic. Immediately fantastic. Anytime the Grizzlies and the Spurs play, it is a super competitive game. It is physical. It is tense. It is a lot of back and forth. Greg Popovich and the Grizzlies organization have some history, so I fully want to see that play-in game. Although, I wouldn't be mad if the Golden State Warriors make it to that 9th seed for a play-in game. They deserve it. They've had a rough 2 years now with Klay Thompson's injury, with Stephen Curry's injuries, but they seem to be putting it together despite their shortcomings, despite their injuries. And yeah, I'd like to see the Warriors get a nice little 8 seed, prove to the world that, hey, Curry and their new rookie at center, whose name escapes me, them together is an 8 seed. Put Klay Thompson in there, they're still a 1, 2, 3 seed, somewhere in there. Eastern Conference, I didn't really talk about how I see their playoffs taking off. I don't see the Nets going very far because you can't get the Nets on the floor at the same time. I talked about this with Donovan as part of Border Field Live. It is interesting that there's been so few games with all 3 of their superstars on the floor at the same time. Very interesting that it's been very rare to get all 3 of them on the floor at the same time, and they're still 34-16. That tells me they're just a really great team at pretty much every level. Really great, really well coached, everything like that. However, the fact that we haven't gotten all 3 of their star players on the floor at the same time tells me you're not going to get that for the playoffs. And when you're playing the 76ers, when you're playing Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, when you're playing Giannis Antetokounmpo and Jrue Holiday, when you're playing a super young, super pesky, super fired up Atlanta Hawks team, you're not going to get away with Kevin Durant deciding to take more load management time. I get it. That Achilles injury, that's a rough injury to bounce back from. And I get it, right? James Harden has his own personal things to deal with sometimes. And I get it. Kyrie Irving is the most complicated person on this earth, or so he thinks. He has issues that he thinks he needs to take care of, that no one else could take care of, that he has to miss game time for, despite the fact that he's paid millions of dollars to be there on game time. I get it, right? Their issues are bigger than mine. But, like, you're not going to win a playoff series if you can't get your players on the field. I don't think they can get their players on the court. I think it gets even worse next year. But I think this year, I give them I'll be nice to them. I'll give them a conference finals exit. I don't think it's a first round exit. I think they just kind of like flick away the Celtics or the Knicks or the Hornets, especially now that the Hornets won't have LaMelo Ball. I kind of think the Hornets are going to lose their way out of the playoff picture at this point. I think the Pacers are probably your 8th seed. So I don't see any of them giving the Nets a hard time. The only team really that I see giving them a hard time are the Bucks and the Sixers, and both of them will knock their breaks off because they aren't going to have all their players. And even if they do, they don't have any defensive players. They don't have any depth players. They just added LaMarcus Aldridge. That's going to be interesting for them. They may be able to do something with that, but I don't think it's enough to keep them or to put them in the finals. My finals right now is probably Sixers, Suns, maybe Clippers if they can fix some holes, kind of shore some things up. Sixers, Suns, and I don't think the Sixers lose to the Suns. I think Joel Embiid is just having that great of a year that we're gonna. I'm crowning them now. I think they're the NBA champions. But that is all we have for Border Fuel's first exclusive morning show, The Fuel Up. I have been Byron. You can find me at Byron Borif Smith on Twitter. You can find Border Fuel on Twitter at Border Fuel HQ. Go follow them on Twitter. The guys over there do great work on our socials. Make sure to stop by our website. Read some content, man. We're always putting out new great analysis content. You're going to want to see it. You're going to want to read it. I'm not a baseball guy, but our baseball team, we got a new content director or a new lead writer for our baseball team, and they seem to be putting out some engaging content, some great content. I could show you the back end of the site and show you all the great baseball articles that they have waiting to be published today. If you're a baseball fan, go check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun for you. Just come read some content and make sure to tune in again Thursday for the Fuel Ups Thursday episode. It's going to be more looking forward, we're going to talk about some combat sports. We're going to be talking about the future of the UFC, but we're also going to be looking forward to the weekend, talking about what we expect from the sporting events then. And until then, I've been Byron, and I will see you guys